Well, Hudson's Bay is the latest and most iconic department store chain to fall here in Canada, joining the likes of Target, Nordstrom, Sears as a footnote in retail history.
Yeah, so what does the future hold, and is this truly the death of the department store? Joining us now is Canadian futurist and retail analyst Doug Stevens. Good morning, Doug. Really great to see you. So what do you think has happened here? Why has the Bay struggled so much to keep up with this changing retail landscape?
Yeah, well, I think you point already to some of the problems, and they're certainly not exclusive to Hudson's Bay. I mean, over the last few decades, we've seen the department store channel in particular really being challenged. And I think a lot of that goes to the fact that today, when consumers decide that they need something, their first stop is not a department store, it's the internet. And that has really cut into the revenues and profits of department stores. I think we've also seen a contraction of the middle class. We've seen a contraction of mid-tier brands and mid-tier shopping in the retail sector. And that has been problematic, certainly for Hudson's Bay. And then when you couple that with the fact that mall traffic, generally speaking, is down too. Consumers aren't going to malls, and particularly young consumers. And that has spelled trouble. But I think we can also accept the fact that there has been a real lack of retail strategy at Hudson's Bay as well. I mean, I would argue that since Bonnie Brooks left in 2013, there really hasn't been any concerted effort to try and resurrect this brand. And so put it all together, and it brings us to where we are today.
Yeah. So, Doug, is there an example of a department store that's doing well, that's bucking this kind of trend?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there are some homegrown examples. I would argue that the Simons chain is doing much, much better. Now, arguably, they have far fewer stores, and their stores may not be quite the size of Hudson's Bay stores, but they're positioned well. They're maintained incredibly well. There's a great service ethic there, and they sell products that you don't find everywhere else. And so that's a great example. And there are some others around the world as well. Selfridges in London is a fantastic department store brand. So it can be done, but you need to have a very concerted strategy and stick to it.
On your point on fewer stores, I mean, Nick and I were talking in the commercial break. It seems like with the Bay, they're kind of everywhere, right? In so many different malls, big malls, smaller malls in different communities. Do you think as they look to the future here, there's a chance that we could still see a couple of major stores and then the other one shut down? Is that a possibility?
I think at this point, anything is possible. I will say that it's not looking good for the Bay. I mean, they have a tremendous amount of debt. And I think everyone was shocked to find that there's very, very little cash on hand, about $3 million in cash on hand. So they need a white knight. They either need someone to come to the table and offer them financing, which in this current environment is going to be difficult to find, or they need some other company. I even floated an idea over LinkedIn this weekend about the idea that, hey, what if Shopify were to buy Hudson's Bay and operate a marketplace within Hudson's Bay stores, kind of go back to the original Outpost idea with two Canadian brands coming together. So anything is possible. And yes, we could see the brand even just become an online brand that, Hudson's Bay just sells online without the impediment of physical stores.
That's interesting, Doug. I also saw someone floating on LinkedIn an idea of just making the Bay just the source for just Canadian brands, making it really a truly iconic Canadian retailer. Is that a model that you think could work, or is this, I hate to think that this is just a trend that we're all sort of jumping on the Canadian bandwagon, but can that last?
I think it can. And I say that because if this were just a trade war, I would be more inclined to believe that, once the dust settles, Canadians will kind of go back to their old habits. But, let's be clear. Our sovereignty is being threatened here. And so I think this has run very, very deep with Canadians. And I don't think that this is going to be something that is going to wash off very easily. In fact, it could be, we're looking at a generation of nationalistic buying. And that's why I say, a Canadian company like a Shopify or someone else coming to the table and saying, look, let's resurrect this Canadian icon and turn it back into a thriving enterprise that focuses, exactly as you say, on Canadian goods for Canadian consumers.
Yeah, it would be so timely, and I'm sure there'd be a lot of support right now. Doug Stevens is a Canadian futurist and retail analyst joining us live. Sir, thank you so much for your time and your take on all this. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.